So okay, because a lot of people asked how you would go about repairing a small tear in the seam between two panels. We're going to do a two-part video. Firstly, we're going to rip this seam apart. We're going to fix it. I'm going to show you the materials and the method I use. And in the second video, we will do the embellishment or the stitching on the side, which often disappears with wear. And if you're going to repair it, the holes actually get exaggerated and you really notice that the stitching is gone. So the method I'm going to show you to repair that does require somewhat supple leather, so like a very old or maybe a Connolly leather possibly won't be able to do it. On this one, this Mazda seat, it's very supple, so I'm able to repair it. So first off, what are you going to need to repair a seam whenever it rips? Of course, you're gonna need, I'm gonna use these seam rippers to open it up. Sometimes you may need to open it up a little further, because if it's really small, you can't get the tools in. So you need one of these. Then you're going to need a curved needle. You have this Prim brand. They do have separated curved needles, but I bought a kit with a lot of thicker needles as well, for if I ever need them. And this one has one curved needle. And these are from our Chinese friends over on AliExpress. I bought them at 10 packs at once. These do work. However, the small one I already broke because sometimes it gets pretty tough to do the technique we're going to use. Because it's a little bit tough sometimes to get the needles through, I also use a needle nose pliers to push the needle through the leather and to dig it out again often. It's a little bit cheapish, this one, so might need another one. You're going to need a sharp scissor, of course, and the star of the show is this nylon bonded wire. These are from a brand called Ipka Bond. It's a 1500 meter roll, and this is a standard black. As you might have seen in the pictures already, you can recolor this a little bit, but you can get them in different colors as well. Search around on the internet a bit and you might be able to find them for about, I think it was 30-35 euros I paid for this roll. So that's not too expensive. You do one repair and you actually recuperated this roll already. Okay, I'm gonna try and open up the seam, then I'm gonna pause the video and watch it again, because I want to know if you're able to actually see what I'm doing whilst I'm doing it. So let's open it up first. With this seam ripper, it's actually quite simple. You stick it in and you actually cut through the seam one at a time. You see, hop hop, it's actually cutting it. There we go. Have a nice opening. I'm gonna try and take out the excess stitching. Okay. See, over here there's a little bit of stitching left. Try to get it out, but you don't really need to tinker with it too long. First off, we need to open up these holes a little bit in order to make our needle go through them very smoothly. You can get leather needles, puncturing tools to do that, but this pointy end serves the trick as well. So I'm going to take this piece of leather, open it up like that, and I'm going to poke into every hole I see, just to make sure it's opened up a bit. So keep poking it. And that's the last one, I think. I'm gonna dig it out. There we go. So that's that side done. Now, why is this one going to be hard? Because of the embellishment stitching. So the back side of the letter over here, as you can see, there's a stitch over here. So we only have this, let's say it's a piping, so we only have this piping to put our needle in. That makes it a little bit tough to get the needle around the edges. So we're gonna try if it works. Last time I did this kind of repair for a client, it didn't have the embellishment stitching, but the leather was a bit tougher, so it was hard to do as well, but we're gonna see. I'm gonna poke the holes on the other side. So find the hole, poke it, poke, poke. Make sure you're not pushing all the way through, because of course this edge over here is sharp. You may cut the leather. That's not what we want to do. Keep on poking. Last one. Oh, up here, up top. Sorry if my head is in the way right now. I'm gonna try get the top ones. There we go. So I've actually upped the resolution on my camera function of my phone. I'm gonna try and do this repair. So how does the technique work? Of course, a reel stitching goes from and to, gets looped and goes back. Okay, so that is not something we can do with this stitching method. We're actually going to go from to, from to, from to, from to. The downside of doing this is that the holes want to line up with each other, and you can get some rippling effect if you pull it too tightly. If you don't pull it tight enough, it will open up and look horrible. So it's a bit of a balance on how much tension you should put on the wire, on the thread. So in order to start, so we had our tear, what I need is actually a bit of the stitching that is exposed. So I'm gonna try to open it up one at a time. Because we actually need to tie it together in order for our repair to be solid. So as you can see, I'm going back and forth. Watch out that you don't go up against the cutting edge. You can actually see that the original stitching is done with 2 wires. We have 2 pieces of string right here, thread. So I'm guessing this should be enough. Okay. Of course, the new holes need to be poked as well. That's one side. Okay, I'm gonna try and do the top side as well. Open it up. It's really odd. So yeah, I've torn it. Damn it. Need to be very gentle. Torn it again. There we go. That's enough. That should do it. Okay. I'm gonna take a piece of my wire that's long enough. It needs to be quite a long piece. Let's cut it. I'm gonna put it on my spool again so it doesn't unwind itself. There we go. Okay. I'm gonna take the needle I'd like to use. So I actually need the smallest of the two. And I will put my thread through the eye of the needle. Okay, there we go. And now, in order to get started, we need to define where we want to start. So, okay, this thread over here is very thin compared to this one. I don't know what happened to it. But I'm gonna try and start from the top. So, it doesn't really matter wherever you start. So I'm just gonna start where the last stitching ends. So that's over here. The idea of the curved needle is you put it through the first hole. I'm just gonna check if my camera is still in frame. Yes, it is. So you want to put it through the first hole that has thread in it left. Then you want to push the needle towards the next hole. And remember that your needle needs to guide itself through the piping area. So I'm gonna do it like this. Hold it there. Use the needle nose pliers to get some grip. And guide it with my other finger. Of course, I'm doing this for a camera, so it's extra difficult. So you actually need to try and visualize where the needle is pointing and then push it through. Okay, so if we need to, we can open up the hole some more. So in this time I'm pushing it towards the one I want to stitch towards. So this one needs to go up. You see? Up. And this one needs to go down. Try it again. I'm trying to look if I can see the edge of my needle poking somewhere. And then try to use the pliers to actually push it through the opposite hole. A bit high, low. Need to go higher. Damn. This is quite tight stitching, so I may need to get the smaller needle. So I'm just poking through the leather while I'm retracting the needle. I'm trying to find the existing hole. There we go. So now it's gone through. Take the needle and pull. So that's our first thread inserted. Now we need to find the opposing hole of where we exited, and that's where we're gonna re-enter and exit in the next. Re-enter in the opposing, exit in the next. And that's how we're going to stitch it together. Okay? So I might get in the shot for a second, but I'm gonna look to see if I can find the opposing hole. So that's gonna be this one over here. Put my ripper into the piping, make sure it's clear. Use the lower hole, do the same. I'm not trying to cut it, just make it so the holes are a bit enlarged. Put the needle in. Okay. Use my pliers. This is a little bit difficult, trying not to get in frame. I might be already. So put it in, up, and come on, through the leather. No, that's too low. Come on. Yeah, I really need a smaller needle for this one. Here we go. And pull it through. And that's our first. As you can tell, if I were to pull this, it'll get pulled together. Okay. Next, that's going down. This one needs to go up. Needle in the top hole. I'm also having a little bit of a sweaty hand situation right now, so if you're less inclined to get sweaty hands, it'll be easier for you. Also try not to stick the needle in my hand at the same time. So you see, now I'm low, so I need to pull back. Oh. Come on. There we go. Make sure you're not threading the wire thread through itself. And there we go. On to the next. And that's how we are going to continue this. And let's continue. I need to get this fixed again, because this is my son's seat. He loves sitting in this seat whenever he comes to the shop. So that was one of the annoying things about these cheap pliers. The handle keeps slipping off. Get a decent set of pliers. This will take me some time. It's a rather large area I've opened up. So yeah, that's how you do it. If only it was easy. It could be, but it isn't. It doesn't require a whole lot of skill. Just some basic tools, some patience, and minding your fingers. You can see I'm too wide. There we go. So let's see what that would look like if we pull it taut a little bit. You see? You may get this a little bit shaped, but as it starts getting used, it will conform a little bit more to what it should be. Smoother seam. I've already done quite a bit of repairs this way, and generally I just tell the people, like, I'll count my work hours. I don't really count the material cost. It's something you can add value to a car, like a second-hand car that wants to be sold. They don't necessarily need a full recoloring or restoration on the damage. But getting the seam fixed is already kind of a big deal. It's the first thing you notice when you step into a car. So yeah. And like I said, this one does have very tight stitching, very close together. Sometimes they're not as close together, and that's a little bit easier. As long as you have supple leather, you can do it. There you go. In one go. That's amazing. If only I had one of those, we call them finger hats for when you're sewing. The metal caps, the corrugated caps. If only I had one of those that will fit my fingers. I might be able to just push it through on this ladder. Like if you could hold your finger over here, you might be able to just force it through, but it actually hurts your finger. So that's why I'm using the pliers. I don't have one of those caps, and I've never found one in my size either. I can see the end of the needle there. There we go. Again, first try. Let's see if we can do it again. Oh, that's when you get stung if you're not careful. Yay! There we go. The tips will get dull, so that's why you want a few of them at a time. Have some spares, because if they break, they become unusable, of course. And it happened to me while I was repairing a customer's car once with the small one. So I had to step up to the larger size. I'll generally take 2 or 3 needles, 3 or 4 needles in total. You see, I took quite a long piece, but it's getting shorter by the minute. So I might not have enough. Let's see what it does if we pull it tight. See? So that's not too bad. So what should you actually do with this end? So this is why I have opened it up like this. But strangely enough, this wire over here is very thin. So I need to reopen it again because it broke again. What you want to do is, as soon as you reach this area, you're going to tie them together. And the excess you have left over, for instance, if I've made a knot over there, you're going to actually put it inside the seam. So you're going to take the curved needle and you're going to go in between the seam and you're going to pull it through on the next seam. And that way you can do this a few times and make an extra knot very tightly against the seam, and then cut it off or use a lighter to get rid of the fraying. And that's how you would fix the stitch. I'm gonna do the rest off camera because otherwise this video would have become way too long and boring for you guys. So I've actually made it down the entire length. Generally this would take me 20 to 30 minutes to do without a camera, of course. So I had a stitching going from here to here which made me come out of this side where there is already one of these blue threads. I went into the opposite side where is the other blue thread, and I came out underneath. So now the idea is that I need to get this thing zipped up, and I also want these two to be tucked in with the thread over here. So I'm gonna tuck them down. Okay, you could like do them around once or twice, and that'll help them get pulled in. Same with this guy. There we go. I'm gonna pull, even it out, pull, and pull. There we go. So now I'm gonna zip it up, and this nylon bonded wire is quite strong, but in order to zip up a length of wire this long, we might need some help with our needle. Just zip it up bit by bit, so when we pull it, the wire can do the rest, the thread can do the rest. Now the rest we're going to pull up to the top. No, doesn't feel like it. So I already zipped up this part a bit. There we go. So one of our trainees is actually an upholsterer, and when I told him I did it this way, he actually thought I was crazy, because it would take too much time, too much effort. Like, he would take off the cover and run it through his machines and stitch it up again. But of course, I don't have a 2,000, 3,000 to 5,000 pound sewing machine which is capable of stitching the leather. And with this piece, if you're gonna do it like that, you also need to undo this embellishment stitching on both sides, stitch the two sides back together, do the stitching again, make sure it's going through the same holes as well, and then put the cover back on. So those are things I don't need to do whenever I'm doing it this way. So now I'm going to massage it a little bit, have a look where I need to get it a little bit tighter. Of course, this side hasn't been tightened yet. So you can see it's still a bit open up over here. So normally you could pull this tight while you're doing the repair, and you don't need to do it in the end. As you can see, pulling it through in the end can be a little bit tough to get through, but it doesn't matter, you can get it. Okay, so not going to. So by pulling it down, the stitch actually knows I need to go down. You see? So I'm pulling it down, and the top side is pulling taut. Try to get one out. There we go. Put the needle in, pull it down. It's getting tighter. Now I should be able to just get it. So you can work it like this a little bit. see where you need to get a little bit tighter. Like I said, don't get it too tight because it will pucker up a bit. So this side might be easier going up again to get it tighter. So we're going to pull it up. Get the needle in, pull it up. Needle in. Pull it up. There we go. And now we're going to pull. That should do it. It's a pretty good fix. So for this wire and this one, so we're going to tie a little knot, try to tie a little knot, make it as tight as possible. So I'm taking these two wires together and I'm going to wrap this one around the blue one. I'm making a little loop actually. Do it one more. There we go. We have our little loop. And now we're gonna try, see if it works, to pull the loop into the seam by going in to the seam where it's located and coming back out right behind it. So it's a bit of a harder one to get. There we go, right behind it, and we're going to pull it through and then just try to get it to go in. You see, the knot got into the seam, and now this end we can eventually cut off. There we go, and we have this thread right here. We can loop this in and out once or twice and make a knot in that one as well. So we've come up over there. We're going to skip one. Try to skip one, go down, come back up, right behind it. Come on. Come on. There we go. So well, I pull this through. I'm gonna leave the little loop. Let's try to make it into a little knot. Let's pull, come on, pull, pull, pull. Take the edge, the scissors, there we go. And we have our finished seam. Okay, do the same to the top side and you're done. Ready to recolor if you have to, or just to use. I hope this helped you guys. I'm gonna finish off this little guy over here, and on the next video we're going to do the side stitching. We're gonna do the replacement as I've shown before in the photographs.